Welcome to BusinessWit's Business Tips from our Better Business Results show. Let's listen to Focal Point Coach EllisMass' top business tips. I'll be back after the clip with your action items for getting the most out of this video. All right, so let's wrap this and say, hey, we've shared this, and listen, what are the top 3 things you would recommend the business owners begin doing now to maybe get out of the technician role or to understand how to make better business investments?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where the challenge is. I think number one is let's start to get really focused on time and how we're spending our time, and are we spending it in the most appropriate and most productive ways. I'm a guy that by nature is not necessarily a time management ninja, and so fortunately I'm kind of the perfect person to have benefited from some of the tools and techniques that we use at Focal Point. So that's an area of emphasis, and really that amounts to prioritization. Have we chosen the right things to focus on? The second is really focus on that ideal customer, that ideal client. Who are we trying to serve? Everything should be tailored around that. Sure, we talk about that from a marketing message, but really, if you think about it, really defining your ideal client defines what your service or product offerings are going to be, what your pricing maybe needs to be, and therefore what are the other capabilities that we need to bring, whether it's from a personnel and operations perspective, even a finance perspective, in order to be able to support those things. It's all got to be around the customer, the client. And then lastly, once you've achieved those things, it's finding that authenticity, finding that way to be able to approach that ideal customer or client in a way that shows that you're in business to help add value to them, to their lives. If you can achieve that, then you will truly be on a path to attracting more and more of your ideal clients and really accelerating your business success.
Yeah, so the first item, focusing on your time, is really about how do I spend more time in the entrepreneur space, right? Where I make the highest, best value, and this is where you can focus on your customer. This is where you can make your best decisions, and this is where you can spend time creating, developing, and understanding your authenticity. So there's just a huge value in that. But the first step, obviously, is getting out of that technician role and making a list of those things and finding another way to get those things done so that you can spend that time on the really important, valuable areas.
Having a real, honest accounting of how am I spending my time on a daily or weekly basis can be really eye-opening.
Yeah, I tell my customers, look at each day and write down everything. It's a little painful for the first week because they're not very good at it. But then they start writing the same thing down again. We say, okay, those are the things right there, man. If we just get rid of that, if we got that off our table, then you would pick up a whole bunch of time. And we can find all kinds of solutions for getting to do things differently.
And we can start really simply. John, you and I were both at an event where we got to benefit from hearing directly from Brian Tracy. Time management's not that complicated. There are A tasks that are helping us drive towards our success, and then there are B tasks, which are nice, they're good, but they're not necessarily driving it. So you want to be more successful, do more A tasks and fewer B tasks. We like to make it a little bit more complicated than that, but ultimately it's that simple. So if we can stay focused on our A tasks, and by the way, a lot of times those A tasks tend to bring us into those entrepreneurial modes, we're going to be more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ellis, thanks a bunch. I really enjoyed this session. I think we've created some nice stuff for our viewers, and we'll get some feedback from them as we release these videos.
Thank you so much, John. Really has been a great pleasure, and appreciate everything that I'm learning from picking your brain.
Now that you heard what Ellis has to say about focus, understanding your ideal customer, and finding your authenticity, here are your action items to get the most out of this video. Number 1, focus. Take a look at your task list and prioritize it. Not just for the day, but ideally in terms of how these tasks fit within your goals and objectives. Then conduct a time audit for a few days and make sure you're focusing on the most important business activities. Number 2, allocate some time to define your ideal customer. What are the key attributes of the person or persons that almost always buy from you? Who most benefits from your product or service? Download our avatar worksheet to help you understand the various attributes. Number 3, find your authenticity. What's your purpose, and why have you chosen this business to service your purpose? If you have questions or you'd like tools to help in direction on any of these items, you can post a question on our forum, or you can always schedule a call at www.businesswit.com.